What's up, homies? My name is Mike Gass, and today we're going to be learning how to create TikTok videos like an influencer with Python. So here's what we're doing. So the first thing I just want to demonstrate is what the end goal of this project is. And so just have a look. This is the goal. This is the aim. Like, if you want to cure the video game addiction, it's pretty straightforward. It's just P. P ends in Y. That's the cure for video game addiction. You start getting P, you know what I mean? You're going to be less interested in the ocarina of time. What do you guys think? So that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. We're taking an MP4. Now it can be landscape or portrait. And we're going to use some Python, OpenAI, or Google speech recognition, and then drawing using LD Draw onto the MP4 itself and make that video ready to present on TikTok, which of course is going under, or at least in the United States will be banned as of Sunday, allegedly. All the rumors are true. We're filming this today on Friday, January 17th, and allegedly on Sunday, that is in 2 days, this ban will occur. So I guess that will have to be seen, but you can still post on YouTube Shorts in this format or any of the other media sharing websites. This is what we're talking about, okay? When we're talking about transcribing, we're talking about starting with a video file, right? MP4, in this case, for this particular project. I've not tried sampling the repo with a .mov file. Once you have an MP4, the code itself will extract the audio as a WAV, and then you do the transcription. So I'm going to show you two ways to do it. One way with Google SR, and the better way with OpenAI Whisper. And even in OpenAI Whisper, there are some levels to it. Now, when you're doing transcription, there's two things that kind of occur. One is actually taking the words itself and transcribing it, putting it into text. Alongside that, you're going to have timestamps. Now, that's all done by the software, but I'm going to show you what that looks like in code and then also in a JSON. Then kind of the last layer to it is combining, right? So you have your transcription. Now layer it on and your timestamps. Now layer it on top of the video. So Whisper, right? We've got two options. We've got Whisper, an OpenAI product, a set of models that do transcription, and we have SR, Google speech recognition. Now, I'm going to make the case to you today, and I think it's a pretty obvious case, that Whisper AI is far, far, far superior. So just quickly, these are all the reasons I put together as why Whisper is better. But I want to highlight two. One is free local usage. So if you're running Whisper locally, so for example, in this GitHub project that I'm sharing, you'll be able to run it free locally. Now, that is in part true of Google speech recognition, that it's also free, but it's not going to be run locally. You are going to require an internet connection to be able to use Google SR. So there are all these reasons, right? Like all these reasons why Whisper AI is better, but I just wanted to focus on those two. Like the main reason, and I'm going to show you right now a real-time example of why OpenAI is in fact better. But just real quick, the implementing in the GitHub code, in your code, implementing Google SR versus OpenAI, the process is very similar. So there's not a whole lot of delta with that respect. So you can see here, we've got two different ways to instantiate depending on what model you're using. Real quick, I want to take a step back. I'm going to show you the delta, the difference between using OpenAI Whisper versus using Google SR. But I wanted to show you one thing real quick. If we take a step back and we look at the repo that we're using today, it's right here. This is a repo on my GitHub. And I do encourage everybody to clone it, use it, have fun with it, fork it, add stuff to it, whatever you want to do to make it your own. But this code is available today for free, and so you're able to set it up. There's installation instructions as is normal with most GitHub repos. And there are two different Python files. Now, one of them is using Whisper, OpenAI Whisper, and the other is using Google SR. So in Google SR, I just want to show you, this is an example, two different transcriptions, right? One transcription using Google SR, the other transcription using OpenAI Whisper. And I want you to just, let me know in the comments below, or just think to yourself, which one do you think's better? Pick from these three waifus, okay? This is waifu 1, okay? You got her? This is waifu 1. You get her in-game model, okay? Damn, that's a pretty good in-game model. So you can see it wasn't a perfect one-to-one, right? I was talking and there was no transcription. Now let's look at OpenAI. Pick from these three waifus, okay? This is waifu 1, okay? You got her? This is waifu 1. You get her in-game model, okay? Damn, that's a pretty good in-game model. Okay, so you can see, I think visually, how much better OpenAI Whisper is than Google SR. So The GitHub code itself, the project itself, is pretty straightforward in terms of what libraries we're going to be importing. So the one that you're going to need to start with is MoviePy. This is a freely available library on pip, and it handles the video processing. Then we're going to be using Whisper primarily. That'll be the demo, will be in Whisper. And that, of course, handles the transcription. And we'll also be using Pill, which is a library that some people in chat have commented saying is not their favorite. And I do know working with it, I was having some problems, for example, rendering the emojis. So those are some of the challenges that you might find when using Pill, but just generally speaking, Pill is a fine library. It's a Python library. And of course, image draw is what actually handles the heavy lifting in terms of drawing onto the MP4 itself. So I want to just talk about real quick. I'm not going to go line by line in the code because I want this to be a more general video, but there are 3 functions that kind of do the heavy lifting in the project. We've got create text image, and you can see this is the one that does all the fun stuff, font size and type, etc. We have transcriber time steps. This is the integration, and actually I showed a clip of it earlier. This is the one that does the actual transcription itself and is like, you know, effectively vital to this particular project. And then the last one is process to video, and this is, I would say, the least fun, but certainly a necessary portion of the project. And this is the one that takes, once you got your transcription, your timestamps, this is the one that draws it onto the MP4. So running it is pretty straightforward, and we're going to do the demo right now. But running it is pretty straightforward. You just, in your terminal, you Python, name of the, whatever you called the transcription file. In my particular project, it's feat trans whisper for the OpenAI implementation. Then you put the video name, the MP4 name, and then you have your different font size, font color. And the graphic here, this shows you all the different things you can do. You can add transfers. This is out of the box, right? You have size, color, etc. The one thing I wanted to focus on is the font, because this is like what makes this particular project, this particular repo, very TikTok or YouTube short friendly. And that's because we're using out of the gate this particular font. And this font isn't in itself the one that you see the most common. The one that gives like really good contrast, it's yellow. And you saw it in my earlier examples. This is the one that you see the most for shorts, for TikToks. Okay, here we are. We're in the repo. Now I'm going to demo the product real quick right now. And when I say demo the product, I mean the Whisper or OpenAI implementation of transcribing your TikTok videos like a pro, like an influencer. So we have here feature transcribe Whisper. This is the code. And again, this is available in the description. You'll find the GitHub repo. Please start it, please use it, please fork it. So if we go to Turbo, right, you can see exactly what Whisper model I'm using to do the transcription, and you can control click on Whisper to go to the definition, and you can see all the different models that come packed in with this implementation of OpenAI. So what's important to note, and I've heard this from other folks, now I haven't had this experience, but folks have told me, is that if you actually, when you run it this first time, if you don't have base model, for example, or turbo model, OpenAI will actually install it on your machine. It'll do that inside the terminal. The very first time you run this repo, if you have never installed any of these models, it'll go ahead and install for you. And I've heard, now this hasn't been my experience because we're gonna run it with Turbo right now, but I've heard that Turbo can fail in the download phase. But let's ignore that for a second. Let's run it. So here's how you run it in your console. So you have your Python command alongside the name of the MP4. And I did show this earlier, but it doesn't hurt showing again. And then you have your different attributes. So I'm going to be using a 50 size font. I'm going to be using a font color yellow. I'm going to go ahead and have a black outline. Then you have to put the path to the font. Now remember, we're using the influencer font that I actually saw in a YouTube short. I can't even pronounce it, but Montessori, bold italic. So we're going to be using that font. And then and I think this is a pretty fun little feature, you can put the output file. So if you don't put an output file, it'll go ahead and name it underscore subtitle. So the name of the MP4 underscore subtitle. So let's hit enter. And so it's going to do a couple things. Remember when I showed earlier how you start with the video, the MP4, in this case, waifu list, then you extract the audio in a WAV file, and you can see it do that in real time. So it took the audio right here in a WAV file. Now it just puts it in a temporary file. Then once you have the WAV file, it's actually going to do the transcription. So using the OpenAI Turbo model to do the transcription. And then after that, it'll go ahead and draw it using LD Draw. while this is actually doing what it does, so you can see, you can get a progress. It's real funny. One time it was, for some reason, when I was writing this code, these bars were getting stacked. So it looked like a Christmas tree. Like instead of one steady line of progress, it was just rewriting itself over and over. So you had a bunch of stacked bars. So for each percent, it drew a bar. So it's now done. So you can see video ready, and we're going to go ahead and take a look. So if you want to just see real quick, this is the original video. You won't get any sound because the VS Code extension to show MP4s doesn't have sound, but you can see the video here. Now let's look at with OpenAI. So there you go. Now we've got our transcription. Now that the pace and the way this looks isn't perfect, so we're going to go ahead and fix that in real time. So how I would do this is and how you can do it is you go ahead and you go into your waifu transcription, and you can see here exactly how the timestamps. And this is in the JSON. It's called waifu list transcription, okay? And you can see the timestamps and the associated transcription. So we'll just do one real quick here to show you how this works. And this is how I was able to get Crystal Mess, which is my Twitch name, onto the MP4 originally. So let's split these up. We're gonna make this 4. Okay, and then we're gonna separate this out. Make this 4, and we'll keep the 9.8. So we're just splitting this in 2, and then we'll grab part of the transcription here, move it over here, okay, and then we'll rerun it. Now when we rerun it, we want to rerun it without the generate transcription tag. And so the reason why there's a generate transcription tag is because the first time you run it, you don't have the JSON, but the second time you run it, because you are going to want to make changes to it, you're going to want to get rid of this tag. So I'm just going to move it here. Now we're going to rerun it, and let's take a look. We're going to rename it too. Let's call this second go, just so we can compare the versions. The first version with the generate transcription tag versus the second version without. So let me clear. Boom, hit enter. So now it's actually not using the transcription. Now all it's really using is LD draw, right? Because you already have the transcription. So the progress meter right here is going ahead and it's calculating the time that has elapsed and that will continue to elapse as it draws onto the MP4 itself. And so we should see a much better presentation. So if we look at the first one again while this finishes up, and it is just about done, we can see the very first version, no transcription. Then we look at the second version, good transcription. That is exactly what I said, but it was not. We don't want it such that it's written on the MP4 and stays there. So let's look at the second version. Now look at that, much better. Much better. Now it looks a lot cleaner. Now we have our TikTok style drawings. All right, guys, that's the project for today. Please like, share, subscribe. Also, go to the GitHub repo, check out this project. Please, I'd love you guys to fork it, to work on it, create a web app for it, everything you want to do to make this product your own, and we can all benefit from it. All right, guys, take care. Toodles.